You guys, I am so glad we've got Melanie from Texas here and Stacy from North Carolina. Thanks for already. You took my hint and you already put yourself inside of there and started introducing yourself. So thanks, you guys. Today, we are going to be talking about how to simplify your systems that you have in place for your online tutoring business. And today, I have invited somebody who's been in the industry probably from a little bit of a different perspective than some of us. He's a music teacher online. You can see his guitars that he has in back. His name's Eric Branning, and he's going to be talking with us and sharing some great information. So you guys stay tuned, keep watching, and we'll be right back. And here we are. Woo woo. So you guys, as I said, I've got Eric here, and I know lots of you guys, this is a new face for you. You have never met Eric before unless you've been inside of the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors. And if you haven't found us on the Ultimate Support Group for Online Tutors, we're on Facebook. Just type it on in. Come join us on over there. That group is owned by myself and the Online Tutor Coach. And so at the Online Tutor Coach, we help tutors just like yourself be able to put all the systems in place so that you can focus more on what you love doing. And you guys may have seen yesterday, we had an amazing webinar with Suzanne Davis. Suzanne Davis has a new blogging mastermind that she is getting up and started that you can be a part of. So if you didn't learn about that, our wonderful friend Beth will put a link on in there so that you can watch the replay for that. And we've got lots of other people that are joining us. Let's see who we've got inside of our inside of here. I see Beth and I see Alexa are in the house. Woo woo. And we've got Kim Hetherington in the house as well. Where did I get such a cool countdown timer with music? That's what Kim wanted to know. So Kim, I got it from YouTube. So, you know, you'd use the tools and how you can use them and get them. So awesome stuff. So sometimes we don't have to create things out of the gate, out of nothing. And you know what? I've been playing with Canva these days a lot lately with their video stuff they've got going on there. And I'm thinking I could probably create one inside of there too. So I may have a new one coming out soon. So keep watching, you guys, and you'll see how we continue to develop with our professionalism. So as I mentioned, I've got Eric Branner here today. And Eric is over in California, right?
Washington.
You're in Washington.
I'm in Seattle. I'm
You
on
know
the West
what?
Coast.
I had the right time zone.
Yep, that's good enough. Yeah.
Like the right time zone, the wrong location. It's
We
close
got the
to
time zone.
California.
It's just one state away, 2 states away, and yeah, no problem. As long as we get the time zones right and we show up, we're all good.
That's all that matters at the end of the day, right, you guys? We all need to. That's what we had to keep in mind in the online tutoring world. That was actually one of the toughest things for me in the very beginning, was knowing where my clients were and how to translate time into their time. It was like one of the biggest nightmares that I would constantly have to navigate.
Yes.
So Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do online.
Okay, great. Hi, my name's Eric Branner. I am a third generation, actually, music teacher in my family. My mom was an English teacher and she's an English coach, but I am a music teacher by trade historically. I'm currently, I guess about 5 years ago or 4 years ago now, I guess, I started or co-founded a company here in Seattle, a technology company called fons.com, it's a scheduling and payments platform for appointment-based business. So we have a lot of tutors on the platform, a lot of music teachers, a lot of personal trainers. And that process got me very fascinated in this idea of the business and the business operations of what I think is an awesome career. You know, I went to school for classical guitar, but I was a session guitar player. I knew that I loved to teach. It's something Joanne and I share, is a deep love of teaching. And recently discovered that online, when I recently moved my studio online and my tutoring online, is that it's been fantastic. And I love it. And it's been great. And it's allowed me to branch out. And so I'm really passionate about those things. And I still teach about 25, 30 students a week, but I'm also running a technology company with a really great team. So I'm here today because I've got a lot of data and have studied quite a bit on the idea of improving this process of how we run this type of business.
Mhm.
And I love hearing people's ideas and thoughts about it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And so, when I had suggested Eric come on, because we've been chatting back and forth, and he's like, oh, I could talk about this, and I could talk about this, and I could talk about that. I'm like, wow, like I love when people are so diverse and they can really just talk about different elements and that kind of stuff. And when I said simplifying your business, and he was like, yeah, like right on, let's do it, right? Because this is all the processes you kind of talked about. Like, you guys missed it beforehand. We were kind of just chatting about like all the important things that we have to learn in order to be able to do what we love online, so that we can be wherever we want in the world. We can take this business wherever we want. As lots of you guys know, I am going to be a snowboard in Cape Coral. I've already started checking out houses. Last year I went down there to check out the area. It is going to happen. It is going to happen. It's just a matter of, at this point, when more than if. So, cool stuff. How about you? Do you have plans for the future of like where you want to take your business? Like, have you thought about that piece of it, that you could be anywhere?
Well, yes, absolutely. I've for many years, I every year I run an annual camp where I take my high school seniors up into the mountains or somewhere, and we set up a recording studio and play a bunch of music. It's a really great thing, and I've often dreamt of doing it in Costa Rica, because if I weren't a teacher and a musician and running a technology company, I've always just wanted to kind of be a surf bum. So I would probably follow the sun just like you, Joanne, head to Costa Rica or something like that. Maybe we'll be neighbors in Florida.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Nice.
and this new element of being able to run the business online has really changed that, right?
Hmm.
Because I thought, so much of my business was very community oriented. I'm in Seattle. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I was very grateful for the community I built, which was, I mean, I was teaching a lot of affluent families, right?
Hmm.
Meaning that I felt like I had a lot of support. I was able to charge a really professional rate, that was the secret that allowed me to actually grow my business. I didn't actually start really growing and becoming successful until my wife and I started a family, and I had to make more money. And I was like, do I go to law school or get my MBA like I'd originally planned? And I was fortunate. I had this mentor that was like, dude, just double your rates. No one's going to care. Just try it. And I was like, I can't do it. And this was a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I did. And overnight, I doubled my rates. And what I found was, not only did all my students stay, I had a waiting list in 6 weeks, which I'd never had before. And I was
Nice.
like, oh my gosh, now I just got a lesson on perceived value. And that's the thing that we see across all of our, every metric we see, is the number one thing that a tutor can do to establish themselves and to grow, is to charge a real professional rate. Because for many of our clients, that's the only way they have to judge us. Right.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
when I was starting out, I was like, I'm going to compete by being inexpensive.
Right.
Then when I learned this idea of, oh no, I'm going to stay in the business, so I have to make a living, or I'm going to leave the business. And I'm very grateful to my community. That was the secret to growing and having a waiting list that I've had for the last decade. So
That is awesome. And you had people that you could kind of start with as well. It's funny
mhm.
because when I raised my rates off in the beginning, I was just chatting. I was having a summer party at my house for all my clients that happened to live in the area, and about, 50% of them could come to my house for a summer party. And I was telling them how I was raising my rates up to $75 an hour, and they looked at me and they're like, I don't know why you didn't do that sooner. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like,
That's exactly right.
I
Because
was
your
like,
clients are
what?
lawyers and doctors that,
Right.
like, to them, and they want you to thrive and they want you to keep doing this. And that is so awesome. And, right now, with everything that's going on, we also have to be super compassionate.
Right.
Right. I'm very grateful that my client base has been able to weather everything that's going on.
Right.
But I'm also very open to people to say, hey, we're going through a hard time. I'm going to work with them. Like,
Right.
this is
Right.
just
Right.
the rules are different right now. So
They are.
and I'm working on providing things that are of lower cost, which I didn't do before. But
Hmm.
now I feel like it's a really important, as a good community member, to be able to do that too.
Right.
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 So
And we've got Mary Pullman also in the house. Hello, hello. Lots of you guys are coming on in. I love this. Sarah Spencer is in the house. Alexa James. Thanks, you guys, for joining us. Grace Chang. We're glad that you're here and can be part of this conversation. One of the things I find with tutors that they are doing often is they will go into these tutoring like website platforms and compete for price. And like my big thing is like, let's start building you as a brand and let's step away from the platform. Like it's okay to get started in the platform and you could get like a couple students here and there. That's fine if you want to do that and play there for a little bit, but don't stay there. Like just put your name on there just for, beginning stuff, just to get a couple clients in the door, get some testimonials, that kind of stuff. But really the big game changer is going to be for people to find you on your website, for people to they're gonna be higher, they're going to end up valuing you so much more if they see that you have a website, that you can connect with them, that they can, that it's not just like here are all the things that I can tutor. But you know what? I understand what you're going through. And you add that empathetic piece to it and say, like, look, here are the problems that I've seen as well. And here's how I can help. And you're really finding what you're passionate with and really good at and branding it. Brand you. I think I should just come up with a new thing. It's just going to be called Brand You.
Right. I could not agree more. And like what I would add to that is, well, a couple things. One is everybody's so unique, right? And anybody that's watching this can look at your energy, Joanne, and you are really effective in this environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you only need one client. And this is the idea. It's like what I feel like the reality is that my business, as much as I'm grateful that it's thriving, I also need to be aware that it came back to one or two clients I had when I first started that became big proponents.
Mm-hmm.
And, the ultimate business model is to just be awesome and love what you do and be authentic about it and put a ton of energy into it, because there's no marketing, there's no Facebook ad, there's no that is as powerful as one awesome client that believes in you and that tells all their friends and says, good luck getting in with Joanne. You can try, but she's kind of mine.
Yeah.
That when you get to that point in your career, it runs itself as far as the top of funnel, right? People get in that, and that your brand becomes that. Which, depending on where you are in your, in your career or in your starting business, that's for people that are just starting out, I kind of call it the hustle. And it's like you're saying, as opposed to like trying to get on Thumbtack or going to, the tutoring platforms, really lean into your network to try to find a couple real champions of what you're doing. That's like, yes, Joanne is awesome. This is what happened to my kids' test scores. This is what happened with their love of reading, and that becomes infectious. And then your brand just kind of snowballs, and it's a great process. And it also will let you know if it's not for you, right? Because I know a lot of people that don't thrive in the environment of sharing information and helping other people grow. And so that's okay. You haven't gone all in on something to decide it's not the path you want.
Right.
So when you find that it is your thing, then you just keep throwing fuel into the fire and just keep going with it.
Absolutely. The most exciting thing for me when I got started was having that very first client that turned into like 5 more clients. So it was like, she knew you're like my first paying client. Like I was totally like open with her and just said, hey, I've been working with my nephew online and I really want to turn this into a new path in what I'm doing. Would you be interested in trying this online so that I can continue to see where this will go? Because I've got some great systems in place and I'd love to be able to see if they can work with your daughter. And she was like, yeah. And she was so excited about it. She shared it with her next door neighbors and both her kids ended up joining. And then she shared it with another family and both their kids ended up joining with me. And, it was just like, it just continued, just kept snowballing into this amazing stuff because I put myself out there you know what I did? I put signs out there. I just put bandit signs. I put
It's the
bandit
hustle.
signs out there. Yeah, it was the hustle. Oh,
It's the hustle.
I didn't enjoy it, but I did it because I was passionate. It was like my why was bigger than what I was doing, right? It was like, okay, I know that I have to get on out there if I want people to know who I am.
Anyone starting any kind of business, that is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Before we talk about processes and how to streamline them and what you're going to do, it's important to do that. But it's really, can you get the people on the phone call?
Yep.
Right.
Right.
And as we begin the concept or the discussion of streamlining a business operation, one thing that you can do for any level of where you are is identify what you're comfortable with,
Mm-hmm.
identify what's really uncomfortable for you to discuss, and to basically create a funnel or a pathway that guides people along a way of getting to work with you that you feel really good and stay confident about,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you feel open to being yourself and being authentic and building a relationship, because this gig is all about connection. And I don't know, Joanne, about you, but with my clients right now, shifting to online has been glorious. But given everything else, part of my job feels almost like the top of our appointment is somewhat of a therapeutic session, right? How are you doing?
Oh,
We're
sure.
checking in one-on-one human beings. And I feel like that's become so important, especially with new clients. I've probably had 7 or 8 new inquiries in the last couple weeks. And I really feel like the connection of people are looking, they're like, my child needs something on the schedule. My child needs something to work towards. Can you help build this structure in? And if you really listen to those initial conversations, that kind of guides itself through the process.
Mm-hmm. It is all about listening and having them talk more, and you kind of saying, okay, what is it that they're really looking for, versus
Yeah.
it be like, hey, here's everything I've got, here's everything that I can do, here's how great I am, here's how amazing I am, and here's why you should hire me. No, it's not about that at all. It's about being authentic and being like, so Eric, tell me what your child is struggling with. Tell me more
Yeah.
about that, and having these kinds of questions that are thrown out there. And in fact, when people go through my Jumpstart program, which will be opening in a couple of weeks, they actually get not necessarily scripts, but what questions can I ask in what order so that I can keep the conversation going, and they want to go to the next step with me. So whether that next step be a free assessment or a free consultation or to just get started. So whatever step they're on, there are these questions that they can ask that will make them seem more authentic because they are listening to what the other person is saying they need.
Yes. Yeah. And suddenly you've differentiated yourself from all the tutoring platforms,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is a human being that's showing care and compassion, and that manifests as skill and expertise because
Mm-hmm.
you're comfortable. You don't
Right.
need that client in the moment. It'd be, unless it's a perfect fit. And
Right.
so, one of the things I always do with my business is I an initial phone call,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is, it sounds like you do a similar thing to
Mm-hmm.
just see if we're a good fit,
Yep.
a conversation to see if we're the same vibe, if we're feeling good about each other's ideas as far as pedagogy, what to expect out of a student, the direction you'd want to take. And I'm fine referring people to someone else if
Yep.
it's not a great fit.
Mm-hmm.
And depending where you are, maybe you can't do that, but there's so much power in being able to do that, that at the end of the day, you just get more business.
Oh,
And it,
absolutely.
yeah, so it sounds like you're really working to share that with people too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I think one of the coolest things that we have inside of our community, whether people are part of the Jumpstart program, which is like our initial program, or they decide to join us long term in our Insider Secrets Club, there's the ability to build relationships with other tutors, because there is no tutor on the planet that wants to refer another tutor that they don't personally understand and get and know if they're going to be a good fit. And so
Yeah.
it gives tutors the opportunity to learn and grow from each other, but also be a source of referral for each other.
Yes. And I think that you're tapping into a really important mindset. There's not enough of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is
Right.
this shift that's happening. And there might be a lot of profiles on the tutoring sites, but there are not enough of experienced professionals that are doing it with a ton of impact and heart. And
Mm-hmm.
so we don't, the idea of competition is very different,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so what's much more important is how good you are, how invested you are, how much impact you're willing to make on the community that you're serving.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, because, I'm seeing it across hundreds of other providers, is that people that, actually my tenure just ended. I was the president of the Seattle Music Teachers Association for the last couple of years. You had two types of folks, and especially in the tutoring firms that we work with a lot of bigger tutoring firms and running their processes.
Mm-hmm.
They either went all in on the online thing because they had to really quick with an open heart because they thought it would really help their clients and they didn't want to see them suffer and
Mm-hmm.
fall behind, or they're like, I'm going to wait this thing out, whatever. It's not. And those people that did that, a whole new group of people have come into the space that are suddenly, they're just elevating so quickly, and they're
Mm-hmm.
excited and they're energized, and they're doing great work.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing it, and it's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's not going away. Like this thing,
it just got bigger. It just got bigger.
So I get a lot of calls. People are always like, who's the best science tutor? Who's the best math tutor? Who's the best vocal coach? And I used to think, okay, what neighborhood are you in? What school do you go to? I know all the schools. My kids are really involved in the schools. This is the person you want for this school in this part of town.
Sure.
And now I think, oh my gosh, no, this person in Texas is incredible. I see what they do. I know them. That's the person for you. This is the right fit.
Right.
And then the mentality of the consumer or the client has changed.
Yes.
They're totally open to it now. What they want is the best.
Right. And so this has just opened up our platform in such a huge way, because nobody is looking for that $10 tutor that is just going to, do a junk job with our child. And if they are looking for a $10 tutor, it's not the business model that is going to survive. Like, unfortunately, I tell people, like, you have to think about your ideal client. Your ideal client doesn't live in poverty. And I'm sorry, like, it really stinks. I know that, like, as tutors and teachers, we really want to be able to help all kids. But when you move into the tutoring industry, you have to think about who is your paying client. And paying clients aren't those people that are looking for the cheapest tutor. They are more on the professional level, so that you can have a business that's sustainable. So it's amazing.
So on the same page.
I know, what's so funny is my dear friend here, Lynn Wilson, who's inside of the group, she's like, oh my gosh, like, you guys are like so in sync. It's unbelievable. I'm like, I know.
When we first met, we're just like, whoa, good vibes. Oh, cool. Yeah. It's important. It's really important to consider is that, yes, I charge enough for what I do, that if there's someone that comes along that needs help, I don't have to charge them.
Right.
There was a 5-year, I used to have a thing where I didn't charge any single mothers because I taught a really, and I had a handful of my students. I was like, hey, I don't charge you. And they're like, really? And they would, of course, those are the people that always try to pay you. Mm-hmm. Right. The people that understand the work you're doing, they try to, but as the old adage, you put your oxygen mask on yourself first. Mm-hmm. If you're running an awesome business, if you're running a 6-figure business where you're really doing great work and making great money, serving the population that most can pay you, then you can reserve 20-30% of your energy to serve another population. Mm-hmm. And you will do much better work. And much, if you can eat, for me, I'm very happy and grateful if I can keep a roof over my family's head, live a great life. Right. Well, and aside from that, and I need to have ideal clients. Like, I love the term you used, the ideal client. Mm-hmm. It's really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have, inside of my system, I have built in one pro bono student at a time. And so, because I do want to help out more and more and more, I'm like one of those people that's really easy for me to say, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, I can help you. And so I've had to like just put that system in place to say, okay, do I have any pro bono students right now? And it seems like they really need a pro bono service. I can put it in place for them. Yep. And I had a client during COVID who said, Joanne, we need to stop services. We're not working right now. And I was like, I wasn't heartbroken. I was more in the space of, this kid needs my services now more than ever. He's getting less reading instruction in school. He's so behind that I'm like, there's no way I can let this child, like, I felt like I needed to be an advocate for this child. So I came up with a system to put him in a group of 4 other kids, and we have tripled the amount of time that he's getting. And I ended up saying, look, I'm just going to do it for free until you guys are back on your feet. We've got this in a system now where it's not like I'm not getting paid any money. This is free for you. And 1 month later, she's like, all right, we're back on our feet. And she started paying again. And I was like, all right, cool. And now he's getting, triple the amount of tutoring that he was getting before. And they're still paying, the same rate that they were paying before, but it doesn't affect me in any way financially, right? And so it's all about that karma, right? Like, if you're out there to really serve and know what's best for your customers and what they need in that moment, I'm like, okay, I can't let this kid go. Like, I can't in good conscience let him go.
And that is a business model, because people remember that. Like, if you're like, that's just it takes your brand to another level, and it's totally authentic, right? That's the thing. People can sniff out a scam, where people know when you're trying to work them, but when you're like, no, I care about your kid, so we'll work this out until you can work this out. They remember it, and that
Yeah.
is throwing gasoline on the networking train, right?
It is, yeah. And
Because
guess
not
what?
everyone does.
Who was the first person when I reached out then to my community? Because I was looking at my testimonials on my my business page, and I was like, oh, it's been like a year since I've asked anybody for a testimonial. I'm just going to throw it on out there to the group of people that I'm working with right now, and just say, hey, I need to kind of update my testimonials on my Google My Business page. They're a little old, they're like a year old, and I just want people to know I'm still in business. Would you be willing to leave a testimonial? Here are the 4 questions that you can answer if you kind of get stuck on what to write. And she was the first one right out of the gate that left a
Of
testimonial.
course, because you're family.
Right.
Yeah, there's, I think, a couple like really high level at a systematic level within our processes. The reality is that a great client has a very high LTV, and that's the lifetime value, right? And that is why there's so much value and worth in investing in those relationships. And that's just purely from a business perspective, right? You look at that client that you took care of for a month and really had compassion and heart with, they're going to be with you as long as they can. And so from just a numbers perspective, it makes sense to do that, right? But then from the building your business perspective, it makes sense because they talk. And so getting to a place where you can run your business with great compassion, right? It seems like a lot of the numbers take care of themselves.
They do.
And then it just becomes justifiable. We're like, yes, I have to charge this much because I have a waiting list, but that doesn't mean I can't work with you, right? And so you've got this rate that might seem just audacious to what other people are charging around you. And yet you have a waiting list, and because people want that perceived value of being close to the people that are like that. So it's just kind of it's a flywheel, right? When you keep doing good things and mindful things and helpful things, you get to value yourself more.
Exactly.
And if you don't, there it goes the other way, right? Because I know I've had 50. I love to learn, right?
Me too.
I'm always
Me too.
studying something, and it is deep in my fabric. And one of my last great teachers was a very famous teacher, and very accomplished, and charged like half of what I charged, right? And had plenty of room in their schedule, right? They weren't busy, and then maybe they didn't need to be, whatever. But I was like, wow, I'm so much busier. I charge twice as much, yet I'm studying with this master and because people recognized me as a higher level of authority even though I was not in any way, right?
Right.
But strictly, that was the metric they had to go by, right? I had a waiting list and charged more. Like, that seems to make sense.
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly. All of a sudden, it's that social proof, isn't it?
yes.
It's that social proof that, okay, well, obviously if he's got a waiting list because he's charging this much, there's something there. Nobody would be having, a waiting list if they didn't have something. And I really think this all comes down to having a system to be able to create that audience Who is that audience? Who are those followers? How do they get to know you? How do they get to build that relationship with you? And, we're really big advocates on here of find your voice and find a way to get it out there, whether that be through blogging or podcasting or live streaming or videos or images. Find your voice and get it out there so that people can begin to know, like, and trust you, because that's the first step in that relationship.
It's huge. Yeah, the top of your funnel.
And
right?
it's not the hire me, I have 5 spots left open.
Right.
Like, you see that so often. Like, hey, we have openings for students. Like, I don't even allow that inside of the Ultimate Support Group. So if you guys want to join us inside of there and you want to post that kind of stuff, it's like against the rules and you get kicked out and you get blocked. So because everybody in there is a tutor, and so then it would just muck up the threads from being able to add value.
Right. And if we could, maybe a good kind of a transition is to talk about, what happens once you have clients.
Yeah.
And I wanted, if I could maybe share a quick story that I think would be pretty pertinent, is I had been teaching in Seattle for about 15 years. I felt I was raising, my wife is an actor. She's also a bookkeeper, and we called it the income quilt. I taught about 50 students a week, was playing a bunch of gigs. She was doing shows and running my business. And we thought we had one of the most successful teaching businesses in the country, right? Judging at that time, we were earning a 6-figure income. We were supporting a family. We were very happy, right? And Allison would spend 8 to 10 hours a week just running the core of the business, right? I mean, we're hands-on, obviously, just like you. We check in with clients, sending invoices, getting paid. The more affluent your clients are, the harder it is to get them to pay you. That's the thing that we have. I don't know if you've seen it, but for them, sending out a check for $300 a month is just something they don't want to deal with, right? They just didn't have time. So it was a good 30 to 40 hours a month of Allison's time of running my studio. And I got very fortunate to be connected with a client who was a kind of a household name in Silicon Valley. He was an early wizard in cloud computing, had sold multiple companies and built them, and was kind of looking for his next best thing. And he started just digging around. And he was like, hey, so I'm looking at your processes. And I was like, well, I'm the king of processes. I love this stuff. So, and he was like, how much time does this take Allison to do this? And I was like, about 8 to 10 hours a week, but we're making this much money. And so the next thing I'm like in a room with designers, engineers, developers. And we did this period where they kind of followed me around for a month, and they tracked how we ran our business. They're like, we might be able to automate this. And at that point I was like, okay, great. I want to send out an invoice the first of the month. They get it for that. A number of, the way I just knew was great. I was like, I won't touch I don't want anything to do with credit cards or no processing payments. I need to have checks or cash because that's how we do it. And they came back at me with a load of data, and they're like, you might want to talk to other people because there's so much waste in your system.
Right.
They're like, well, we see a path that you could take this 8 hours a month or a week into about 10 minutes. And I was like, but that's not going to work. That just like online lessons, they're not going to work. And so then it became, we interviewed 1,000 people, personal trainers, Pilates coaches, ton of academic tutors, music teachers that we thought were really successful. And we found these holes that were like based on old mindsets, right? And began this path of looking at every single moment and what stresses us out. Like I get stressed out being like, hey, Joanne, you forgot to pay me.
I know.
Do you have
that stresses me out too.
And a kid pulls a wrinkly check out of their pocket. It's 2 weeks late. I'm not embarrassed to say that when I switched over to automating my system, I had about $5,000 in outstanding payments from very wealthy families that I just went through a divorce, and I kept teaching them, and we just kept riding them. And just to go about one example that really the mindset shifted is processing fees. At the end of the day, a processing fee is the best investment you can make for your time. It's the single thing that allows you to automate all of your payments.
Oh my gosh. Even yes.
At the worst, you're paying 2.9%, right? And you're like, well, that's crazy. I'd never do that. Well, that cut 7 hours, maybe 30 hours a month of time from someone running a business. And then next thing you know, my wife now has another job. That was our proof of concept. And when it's a write-off, it allows me to automate everything. more importantly, my clients didn't want to read an invoice and remember to pay it, right?
Right.
And so I switched my mindset. My clients like, oh yeah, dude, totally. Keep a payment on file. Just run it every month. Great, perfect. It's encrypted now. That can all be done. And you look at all these two things in our process that I'm really passionate about. One is many people that do what we do aren't inherently business acumen heavy, right?
Right.
Like that's not their thing. They might be driven by passion. But often they don't have an MBA and they need to
Right.
learn these. But ask, and it's uncomfortable when you're on the first call to say, hey, yeah, I charge 120 an hour. You get scared to say it. I mean, I still get scared to say it. But when people go to sign up for their first appointment with me, they go to my public booking link that has a free meet and greet, but also they could book an appointment for $100, right? By the time we have our first call, they've already seen it. They're not shocked. And I know that. And that's a little thing in my mind that I've put in as a process that allows me to have confidence, being like, I know they've already seen it. So now I don't have to be scared. So you look at friction, confusion, things we're not, naturally inclined to be comfortable discussing, automate them, right? Stick them in there to where when you show up for an appointment, it's just, let's be awesome. Let's just do value. Do what I do. Everything else is taken care of. So that is kind of the heart of my soul, is helping other people get their systems to where they can remove those, just like you were saying, and then build on their awesomeness, right? Which will build their businesses. And then once they're eating better and making more money and running a great business, it's that flywheel.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so key. I mean, I found that too in the very beginning. When I was having to chase my money down, I was just like, this is a terrible business model. I need a way to be like Netflix, where they just charge me every single month and it just is automatic. And so I figured out a way to do it with PayPal for free. And I was like, bam. And then I shared that with my community. And today I still share it with my community. It's like, here you go. Share this link. Here's how you create the link. Here's how you share it with your people. And now you'll always get paid on time every time. And I have in place as well, I now collect their credit card before the free assessment.
Yes.
And this is actually an amazing thing, because it actually cuts down on the amount of people that I get that will do that, right? Which is great, because I don't have space to be able to take people to take everybody. So it works great for me. So some people are kind of scared, like, well, why are they going to give me their credit card? And I just tell them, if they ask me the question, why are you collecting my credit card for a free assessment? I say, don't worry, I am not charging that credit card. It's kind of like when you borrow the bowling shoes and they need your ID, so make sure that you return them. It's kind of the same thing. I just want to make sure that you're going to show up to the free assessment. But here's what I really have in process. I have their credit card. So now when they say yes, and we decide on our very first session, I am able to set it up on autopilot through the backside of Stripe. And now it just is on a subscription model. Boom, done. Never have to take care of it again until either their credit card expires or they decide that they're done with the tutoring services. And I never have to have that sales conversation again. So it's not like, okay, so your little package is done, your 12-week package is done, and so now we need to talk about the next 12 weeks. No, I never have to have that conversation. We just keep going and going and going. And I work with my students for years.
Yes. And do you do a flat rate subscription to be a part of your service? That's yep. And
yep.
Which is amazing. Right? Because then you're buying into a community. It's great. And the advantages of that, again, there's no invoicing. You always get paid unless the card. And so if you look across all the verticals, and I'm really interested by personal trainers because they're so goal oriented, right? And they're transmitting knowledge and information, but they really want to do this thing. And I see a lot of tutors doing it too, which is these prepaid packages.
Yeah.
Right. And so what we've built is we built a way because people that are really trying to push for growth and revenue, there's a path that you can have an automatic recurring prepaid package. And we actually built this for the school out in Malibu, California. And it's been amazing to where you sign them up and you're like, every 4 appointments, your card gets billed, right? There's still no invoicing, but the system tracks when they've had an appointment. Cause like if you have 3 a week and you're charging per appointment, as opposed to being a group, a blanket, again, it's like another path. And there's, as far as we can tell, there's about three. The ability to automate payments through a subscription is the simplest, least friction. You're in. Budgeting is amazing for both sides. Automatically recurring prepaid packages does a similar thing. And what I do, I have a wonky schedule because I'm kind of living two lives of being a teacher, but also running a technology company, which
I get you.
And so the system I use is basically like an Uber, where I have payment method is on file, and after every appointment ends, their card just gets dinged, right? And so, again, the caveat is no invoicing, no asking for payments, everything's on file, and it can be done like through the Stripe can be encrypted and secure, and there's just no reason not to if you're going to stay in.
Exactly. Oh, and Lynn is so sweet in here. She's like, you guys, this stuff is so good. Thumbs up this video. And I always forget to like ask people those kinds of things. So thank you, Lynn, for already like throwing that on in there. And if you guys haven't subscribed, we'll throw that on in there. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to our channel because we always have great content of, at least I think it's great content, of people that are really, they're in the business, they're running the business, and they're sharing, their best tips with you. I mean, what could be better than that, right?
Good times.
Good times. Good times.
Good time.
I love that my community just reminded me of that. I always forget that part. But it is, we have to ask people to take a call to action. And we're kind of talking about a call to action here, right? Where we're like, hey, leave your credit card, or hey, subscribe, right? Do the subscription model. Subscription models are great. Packages are great when they already have like a prepaid, like here's like, this is the amount you're going to get charged each month. They work great because not every tutoring business runs on the same model. If I'm an SAT tutor, I need to sell a package, right? If I am a reading tutor that's going to keep working with their clients, I need to be able to, I need to be able to have a way that I keep my students every month without having that uncomfortable conversation. And what I loved about fons.com when I was taking a look at it was it has both of those capabilities built inside of it, which is phenomenal. So you guys, I have left a link inside of, if you're on my YouTube page, I've left a link inside of the description so that you guys can just check it out. There, you have like a 14-day free trial that they can check it on out?
Yes, we do. And right now our deals, we have a really awesome customer success team, and our trials are basically as long as you need to see if it's a great fit. So sometimes it takes a month, because process of moving a business or understanding if it's a good fit for you takes time. So yes, we basically have a trial that's as long as you need to until you see if it works for you. Yeah.
Okay, great. And so as we take a look, what are some of the features that you have? What is fons.com? Tell the audience who maybe isn't like used to a system like this.
Okay, so fons in Latin means wellspring of knowledge, right? Which is where it comes from. My chicken, I'm in my studio and a chicken just laid an egg. So you're gonna hear some
Shut
clucking.
up.
Yeah, so I apologize as I discussed it. So they get mouthy sometimes. This is anyway. So pardon my chickens.
Nobody has ever said that. Nobody.
Yeah,
nobody
I know.
Has ever said that.
It's just gonna be one of those days. So fons is basically in its most stripped down is an automated scheduling and payment system for any appointment-based business. And one of the things that kind of separates us from different platforms is we decided not to become vertical specific, but business specific, right? So we took from tutors, music teachers, Pilates coaches, executive coaches, and tried and just listened to them and automated the processes that we saw working from talking with thousands of people. And so Fons has a public booking link. I mean, it's similar to Acuity or something like that.
Yep.
And the difference is that Fons has integrated payment into everything, right? So you can go to your public booking link, sign up for your meet and greet and your credit card if you choose to do that. It's got the ability, because that's an important feature that professionals have asked for, say, hey, to book an appointment, we want you to add a credit card. That card is encrypted on an enterprise version of Stripe that we have wired into it that allows you to choose whatever kind of agreement you have with your client. It's got, a Venmo style payment built into it. It's got prepaid packages where I could sell my 20 session SAT package and have them deduct whenever appointment pulls from the calendar. The calendar and the billing are integrated.
So it keeps track of how many sessions they have already used. So you never have to sit there and start thinking about, okay, now how many sessions do they have left? You got 20 students. That becomes like an impossible model when you have that going on.
Yes, and it communicates all that between you and the client. So it also has a marketplace. We acquired a company a couple of years back that was a marketplace, and we baked that in to give every account basically like a thumbtack style page with no barrier, right? So you can, and I get a ton of leads from this, which is it's the marketplace. You just contact the person directly.
Okay.
Right. You can just email them right through it. And it's like, hey, this is what I do. And that's something that adds a lot of value. I mean, we appreciate it because it adds more traffic to our site and gives it more validation. And for our customers, it's great because it helps them get new clients. And especially if you're in a secondary market, your marketplace, English tutor in, whatever, if it's not like New York City or something, but a borough or a smaller town, will often come up on the first page of Google. Right. So, that the platform itself is just really dead set on business. And people ask us all the time, they're like, oh, can we get a whiteboard in here? And we're like, no. Can we get a metronome for the music teachers? Can we get like diet or exercise plans? It's like, yes, there's note systems in there, but let other platforms do what they do well. Right. And keep business. Right. So I hope it's not too personal to what I thought was important, was that I wanted to put business here and put awesome communication and education here, right? To where the client sees very little of it. I can also completely onboard my clients into the system. I can do it over the phone for them. I can enter their credit card payment. I can sell them a prepaid recurring package. The last 3 years, mostly what we're doing is we watch everybody and we look for uncomfortable moments. How can we iron out this uncomfortable thing that just happened, right? You have a backdoor, which is like a very easy to, if something does go wrong, you have a meet with a bad client, you just want them out, you can give a refund from pushing a button.
Right.
Little things, you're like, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm going to give you half your money back. Just don't, it happens every couple of years. So that's the core of the platform. And that's, the neat thing about it is the platform scales by you can have a single account turn into a school. So as you grow, you can add up to 5 staff members on a single account, right? And then now we have a lot of schools that have 30 or 40 tutors on the platform. So that's kind of the scheduling, payments, automation, and marketing are kind of the real core of what it does.
They're wondering if I'm going to get chickens now. the interesting conversations that are going on in here are hilarious.
So, Joanne, if you're going to do we should have a long discussion about chickens, because I've lived with them for a long time in the city, and that could be a great other topic sometime.
I love that. Like, and they know the name of my dogs, and they're like, I'm not sure that Champ would really think that's a good idea. Like, I agree with you guys. I don't think that my dog would think that's a very good idea. And you know what? I am done with pets. I am just done. Like, I'm a one dog girl. I have been there. I've done that. We're past that stage. My kids keep asking, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, the answer is no. If it's not a fish, the answer is no.
Yeah, I like your style. Well,
here's the thing. Like, we've already been through that whole entire stage. We've had hamsters. We've had crab, the hermit crabs. We've had dogs. We've had a cat. We've had enough. We've had enough. And now I'd like to run my business. So I don't want to spend any time running a farm.
That's a pet of its own. Yeah, that's a whole other life form.
It's a whole other. That's right. Yeah. You guys are my pet now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, I love it. My pet project, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. So yeah, I think this is great. You've really taken a look at what is it that people need, and found out a way to be able to deliver it, and you don't make it complicated. And I think sometimes people like to complicate their systems. And what Fons does is it actually takes the complication out so that you can focus on doing what it is that you love doing, which is the tutoring. Now, some people, I want you really, guys, when you think about using a tool like this, that's easy, it's simple, right? A lot of people think, oh, but I just don't have that kind of money to be able to like afford something like that. I want you to think about the amount of time and hours that you're saving, not having to send out those invoices, not have to manually track which sessions people have used and not used. I mean, it takes that entire like it's somebody's job position. They used to be called a secretary and they would sit at that desk,
Admin.
right? They were your admin and they would check people in, right? Oh, they did all of that. Like if you had like an actual legit tutoring business that had an actual building that you had to pay for, we need to run our business like a business. And when you run your business like a business and you utilize the tools that are out there to make your business successful, people will automatically start leveling you at a higher playing field than those people that are collecting Venmo type payments.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you can pay me on Venmo, and then like you still got to send out that little thing to remind them to pay you because they are not going to pay you like on time.
I
And,
see that. I see that so much. Yeah, that's
and can I tell
so
you what they
really.
do? I'll tell you every single time, every single amazing client I have had that has always paid on time screws me in the last month.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. It's like a total. I'm like, oh my gosh, 3 years. Are you kidding me? You're gonna do this to me now too? And it was like after enough of that, I was like, enough is enough. I need to really value what it is that I do and come up with a better system.
Well, Joanne, and another thing too is great tools are incredibly expensive to build.
Yeah.
I mean, having the United States development team, not develop, Bonds is built in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Having real customer service is really expensive. The
Right.
guts that put something together like this, it's real. It only works at scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
These platforms that are really invested in this, they don't support themselves unless a ton of people are using it. But what has been really interesting is that as we launched, we have found, and this has become a core part of our platform, is that having a paid service attracts, just like charging a living wage, attracts these professionals to where our goal with Fonz is to be thought of as a brand from the client side. Like our long-term goal is for Fonz, that marketplace, to be where like, if I want something, I know because that this is going to be a trusted provider,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so one of the things that we have in the platform is we actually have a feature it's not an advertised feature, but it's called verified,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which means our customer success team knows you. We've talked to some of your customers. We've seen that you're a legit business. We see what you're doing in the world, and then you get this feature that just shows up in your account that basically allows you much more freedom with what you can do as far as building your clients automatically, letting you run your business better. And that has been really interesting because now what we're doing is we're starting to see people seeking out people that are using the platform
Mm-hmm.
through the marketplace because
Sure.
they're like, oh, this great music teacher uses it, this great tutoring firm uses it. And that's become important to us, is who we attract, who's using it, um, and keeping, just like in anything else, wanting to have a high level of quality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is important.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a couple questions inside of here. One of them is:
Sure.
does Fonz replace PayPal or Stripe?
Yes. So Fonz would basically, it would replace both of them. So if you look at how many people do their billing, they'll say, okay, I take Venmo, check, cash, Google Pay, Apple Pay, Stripe, Venmo. Well, Fonz has an enterprise version of Stripe because Stripe is amazing. They
Mm-hmm.
are secure, they're encrypted. They're just wonderful. And basically, it's hidden in the platform. So the processing is all done through Stripe,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been very simplified and kind of hidden to where, all you have to do is enter in a credit card payment and hit charge and it can run them. So you don't actually have to go into the Stripe dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own business dashboard. But
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Awesome. Okay, and the other question is people are wondering, are you familiar with like TutorBird or My School Books? So My School Books turned into TutorBird. Some people are wondering what is the difference between TutorBird um, and Fonz?
Okay, so and just complete transparency and honesty, TutorBird is a subsidiary of a company that made My Music Staff, right? So it's a repackaging, and they're good people too. So I'll just be totally straight. And my music staff is kind of one of the preeminent names in the music teacher automation, right? TutorBird is a subsidiary of that same platform with a different packaging. So to answer the question a little more broadly, I mean, for one, we built fons because I wasn't satisfied with anything out there that worked. So that was, and I also think they're awesome for a lot of people because they're vertical specific. And vertical means what you do. So for instance, TutorBird has tutoring, tools in it, right? They focus on that. And some people really appreciate that. That's not my style as a teacher. I want my own systems, right? I don't need like a metronome or a lending library or a whiteboard in my business. Fonz is all business. So the main differentiator there is that we're hyper focused on the area of business. Now I believe TutorBird like gives you your own website, right?
Oh yeah.
And
I don't mean to like knock it, but it's terrible. So they've put in some, they're trying to be the one all platform, because a lot of tutors will say something like, well, I just want everything all in one place, which I understand where some people are coming with that mindset. But you're running a business and you have to be more open minded, okay? Because when you have the one and all platform, then you take out quality.
Yes. And focus is very important. Niche and focus. And so we can't do it all. Like for instance, MailChimp does mailing better than we could ever do. It's very difficult to do one thing well. We are focused on getting you paid and seeing your income rise. That's like the value proposition.
There you go.
Taking away stressful conversations, build your business in a way of processes. And for instance, the question to really ask is about Acuity, Square appointments. Like Acuity was built on a very similar idea that Fons was. The person who started it, his mom was a massage therapist. That is a world-class software, right? They do a great job of scheduling appointments. They're a competitor of ours, but it's on a whole different level, right? As far as they're very good at what they do. We're more about integrating the payments, and you could see them. They're more like aligned with scheduling and payments for like a massage therapist or something like that. But it is, when you look at the quality of the software and the engineering behind it, that's something that I'd really encourage you to look at, is how smooth does it feel to use. Square Appointments is doing good stuff, and although they have a free version, it's not really free. You just pay in different ways. It's very cool. But if you prefer Square to Stripe, I mean, that is an enterprise level, well developed, software. I think, the thing about Fons, which is really interesting, is that we have our CTO, our co-founder, this guy Jared, has brought a level of designer and engineer that usually only a company with like 500 or 1,000 people would have the ability to get, because he's done all these companies before. So we're interesting in that we're a very small firm, hyper focused on one particular problem set, right? And able to create a software that I think is on the level of anything else out there, right? Which that's something I'm very proud about, and really I think is a really cool and interesting moment we're experiencing.
Yeah. And Lynn asked, Lynn, you asked another great question too. Lynn asked, like, what kind of income do I need coming in to make it worthwhile to use Fons? I would say one student. Okay. So I'm not saying put it into place and you don't have any students. Like, you have no use for it. But if you have one student, you will automatically see how easy it is to be able to set that student up.
That is a lovely, I think it's a great question. And it's one we wrestle with all the time, that if you think about what it costs to use any kind of system like this, for me, across the board, I can automate my entire school for less than what it costs me to teach one student a month. That's with having 30, right? So I'm saving 10 hours a week of admin time for teaching one student. Everything, and it's stuff that I don't like, right? So I get rid of all the garbage I don't like. And it doesn't matter what you use to do this. You could piece something together with like whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. But if you can get down to where the stuff that you don't like goes away, it doesn't matter. Your business won't thrive until you take the friction and the stuff that bums you out. I used to stress out. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like stressed out about people paying me and having to ask them, or firing somebody, all that whole, those stressful moments. If you can get rid of those, then suddenly you're happy. And if you're happy, it doesn't matter. Your business is going to thrive.
Right.
So
Right.
I know everybody's really different, but I definitely do encourage people to, run it like you said, run it like a business
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not a
for the
hobby.
sake of you and your clients.
Not a
Yeah.
hobby, right?
Yeah. If
Like,
you're going to do it.
because yeah, if you run it like a hobby, you guys, the government is going to know you're running it like a hobby, and you're not going to be able to take your business. You're not going to be able to get the benefits of running a business. So those are some important things too. They see you have processes like this in place, you look like a legit business, which you are, right? And so they can't say, oh no, this you're running really a hobby, and then you can't take the tax benefits because of it. So,
Exactly.
well, you know what? Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been absolutely fabulous. I can't wait to have you on again and be able to chat and continue the conversations as we continue. I'm really
Chickens.
excited. Chickens, no chickens for me, but I wish you well on your chickens. And somebody else started saying that I taught my dog to read. I'm like, did I? I forgot all about that. Oh yeah, my dog can read. My dog
I'm sure.
smiles. He smiles a
That's enough.
lot. I mean, like, he's like, I'm like, my dog actually smiles. I'm like, I love it, this little guy. He smiles all the time. But he can't read yet, guys. I haven't even tried.
You'll
Sorry.
get there.
We'll get there. We'll get one
Joanne,
day.
thank you so much for having me. I so look forward to our discussions. I knew from our first talk,
Yep.
such an alignment of energy, and I really
Absolutely.
appreciate what you're doing out there.
Absolutely. And I appreciate what you're doing out there, Eric. And I can't wait until the people inside of our group start using Fonz and just being able to sing its praises, because it's got a lot of great features going on. So thanks for what you do, Eric, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Joanne. See you soon.